I think that just comes from believing in the reality of the situation.
Okay.
If there would actually be a crocodile, you would have like a very visceral physical reaction. But you know, that's also a very specific skill. Not everybody can convince you larger than lifeness of them.
ये हमें मार क्यों नहीं रहा?
खून भरी मांग में तो एक सेकंड में पूरा रेखा का मुंह नोच डालता है.
Shamelessness is something that's helped me a lot.
OTT wasn't as oversaturated as it is today. So two things, right? One is we were discovering that, wow, this new stuff is on OTT.
Yeah.
The second thing was, you know, you don't have 500 things to watch. Now I'm like, do you think Instagram stardom is different from film stardom?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it's a very childish thing to do, what actors do, trying to convince themselves and the world that there's something that they're not, right?
Would you say Tu Yam as a commercial film?
Yes.
டார்லிங் ஏசி திருவிழா இந்தியாவிலே குறைந்த மாத தவணையில் ஏசி.
சம்மர் வந்தாச்சு, எங்க கிட்ட விட்டுருங்க, நாங்க பாத்துக்கிறோம்.
GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand.
மணப்பெண்ணின் பிரத்யேகமான திருமணம் விவாஹா சென்னை சில்க்ஸ்.
Hello Adarsh.
Hi, sir.
I just want to say I'm big fan of Tu Yam hai, big fan of what you did, what Bijoy did, what Shania did, what the music did. I just pretty much liked the whole movie.
Thank you.
We'll talk about the stuff that you did and the prep and all that in a bit, but I just want to say, like right now, sitting across, like what is your frame of mind right now?
My frame of mind is that I don't want to eat puri sabzi and I don't want to sit in a car for a long time.
Okay.
We covered 3,200 kilometers in the last 17 days, all across the Northeast, went across 5 different states.
Okay.
And it was a lot of just sitting in the car. It was a lot of amazing time spent with the tribes and
This is a show you're doing, right?
This was a travel show that I hosted, but it was also a lot of like just traveling and sitting in a car. So I'm really happy to be back home with my cats.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so the only food that you get is puri sabzi.
No, the places that we were shooting at were so remote that the person that we had would end up making only puri sabzi.
Okay. That's 17 days of puri sabzi.
17 days of puri sabzi.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must be interesting.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. What is you're doing the show?
Yeah.
The movie that shot you to fame was White Tiger. Now you have Tu Yam hai, which is in a more commercial space. In the middle, you do a Guns and Gulabs. What is it that you're looking for? I mean, like, what is, like, you know, when they like, think of this like an HR question, right? Like, where do you want to fit in?
I don't know if I want to fit in.
Okay.
I just like doing the kind of films the kind of stories that I would like to watch, I guess, and the kind of people that I would want to spend 2 to 3 months with. People who inspire me or intrigue me in some way. Yeah, it's very simple for me in that sense. Just like a good story and a character where I genuinely get to explore the person, you know.
That's the basic.
That's my essential criteria.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you do a travel show like this, what's going on in your mind? It's like, because that's time that could be spent maybe reading 5 scripts, meeting 3 directors, 2 producers. Like,
I was still reading 5 scripts while I was doing the travel show.
Okay. All right.
But that's what I do in the car.
Okay.
For so many hours. But the idea behind doing this mainly was just the privilege of getting to travel to such remote areas in India where as a tourist I would normally not get access, and then, you know, get the consent of these people to open up on the pretext of a travel show, but then, you know, I get to know them at a very personal level when, you know, you're spending 2 to 3 days asking them questions, following the script but also going off the script to sort of satisfy your own curiosity about certain things that, you know, and they have very different ways that they live their life, very unaffected and by the news, by what global events are happening around them, because, you know, they're so insulated in these villages and in their lives. So it's very, very interesting. I feel like it was a big privilege for me to be able to do that.
So when you go, are you a big traveler in real life?
I try to travel a lot. Yeah.
Okay. But this particular thing, like, give me a question that you asked, which kind of opened up your mind about what life in the Northeast was like.
Well, for example, we were in Shergaon in Arunachal Pradesh, and in every episode we had like one person who would be like the local guide, and then he would be showing me the place, and through him and through me is what you'll experience the place. So point of contact in Shergaon in Arunachal Pradesh took us to this forest that has been protected for the last, 100 years and continues to be so. There is development happening around it, but the forest largely remains untouched, and there are these massive pine trees. And he said that when the pandemic happened, the world was flipping out and stocking up stuff from the supermarket, and rations were running low, supplies were running low. For us, it was always the forest, and still was even during the pandemic. We continued coming to the forest. They were foraging, different things, different plants, edible plants, berries. And I just find it so interesting that there are people who still have such a strong symbiotic relationship with nature even now, where they are largely unaffected by everything else that is happening. Their sort of mental peace is not broken down or tested with these kind of events.
That's really perspective, right? Because I hear of a lot of actors who say that, oh, I can't live in Bombay anymore, so I'm going to go to Goa or some place like that, and they do have homes there, but
Yeah.
they also find it a little impractical because the work happens here, and they after a while they're like spending. They say, even though I have a home in Goa, I still find myself spending more time in Bombay because of the nature of the work.
Yeah.
So I guess that's also something that, to see the symbiotic relationship with nature and all, it also creates. I guess I would be a little envious of these people.
I am.
Because you are, right?
I am.
Yeah. It would be nice to kind of live that kind of a relationship, but also do what you're doing.
Yeah, but then when you're sitting in their home at night and you're having dinner, because a lot of these places there are no hotels, so you stay in people's houses in homestays, and it's so nice because you get to have dinner with the family, and they have so many questions for you about Bollywood. Aap hame bataiye, and then you have so many questions, and such amazing conversations we've had where they were, because one family, for example, again the family that we were staying at in Shergaon, were like, tell us about Bombay. We've never been to Bombay. We've never gone outside of Arunachal. The husband, who's a civil engineer, he had gone to Calcutta, but he'd never come to Mumbai. So then, and all my questions were around, what was your childhood like? And so there's so much curiosity on both ends about knowing each other's worlds.
What do they want to know about Bollywood, for instance? Do
Well,
they
I
get to
guess
see films at all? Or
Less.
Less.
I don't think there's any theatre as such in Shergaon. It's too remote. They know about Bollywood, they know about Hindi films, but they still know about Shah Rukh Khan, Salman Khan, Amir Khan, Amitabh Bachchan. I feel like the last 10 years, 15 years, we've not been able to penetrate that as deep as that. Yeah.
Right. Something similar happened to me yesterday while I was in a car, and the driver was from Bihar. And I asked him, what kind of music do you listen to? Not just generally, because he said, I mainly listen to Kumar Sanu and Udit Narayan songs. And I'm like, but what after that, right? It's like, of course, they're good songs, but anything after that? And he just blanked out. He was like, I'm happy, that's my happy zone, I'm there.
Yeah.
And then I said, radio mein kuch to like naya aata hoga. And he said, no, radio nahi sunta, it's all like his own
Pen drive or CD.
pen drive
Yeah.
that he's gotten. So like that insulated thing I get sometimes,
Yeah.
because you think that people are exposed, and so much of, we think in terms of millions of YouTube views and this and that, and then suddenly somebody pops out and like this, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh wow, that's a.
They're exposed in terms of other ways. Like they're exposed in terms of knowing how to edit on their phones.
Yeah.
But
So,
they're not exposed to like a lot of films or content that we're making.
Right. So, what do you think is the challenge for your generation when it comes to becoming somebody at the level of the names that you mentioned, like Shah Rukh, Salman, Amir, Amitabh? I'm not Amitabh Bachchan. I'm not even talking about like literally them, but a certain kind of stardom, right? What is the challenge that you think lies? Where is the challenge?
I don't know. I'm not really thought about this.
Okay. Can I offer a theory?
Sure.
I think that these are stars that were made pre-pandemic, when large numbers still used to go to the theaters.
Yeah.
And they began to own these stars as somebody that I would place on a bit of a pedestal.
Yeah.
But when the stars started coming home, they became one of us.
Yeah.
And that mystique that these pre-pandemic stars had, that kind of died down. Does it sound wild? I don't know.
No, it's absolutely relevant what you're saying. Yeah. I guess that's what's happened, right? Yeah.
But what do you say about this? It's like, do you think that, the fact that I can wait for somebody to like a little bit and then they're going to be right at home, that's caused a bit of a dip in the individual stock of stardom?
For sure, yeah. Which is also why it's become so much more challenging to, like, for a person to go in a theater, because also options, right? It's as simple as that. Like earlier in the weekends, there were two to three options. You either go to the park, you go to the beach, or you go watch a film. But now you have so many other choices that
Right.
you can make. Middle class families weren't going out and eating every weekend like they are right now,
Right.
It used to largely be like maybe a monthly thing, maybe like a festival thing. But now, if you notice, there are so many more people who go out and do so many other activities. People are in cities, people are playing pickleball, paddle ball, where there are multiplexes. Also, the audience is so spoiled. The people population is so spoiled for choice. So it will become so much more harder to then become a star in whatever sense you want to be, and like to actually get people to be loyal to you as a person, you as a brand. I feel like it's gone beyond that. It's become about the experience than about more than the person or the brand that they associate with.
Do you think Instagram stardom is different from film stardom?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. How? Because if people are following you, it would stand to reason that they're kind of interested in you, right?
Yeah, but then there are lots of times when people with lots of following do films, but that doesn't necessarily
That's why I'm
translate
asking,
into ticket
like,
sales.
have you thought about why that doesn't necessarily...
Yeah, because people might want to watch them on Reels on Instagram,
Okay.
or for the content that they make on Instagram, but they might not want to watch them in a 3-hour film or a 2.5-hour film.
Right.
That's completely different. Having said that, it does help when a large number of people follow you on Instagram. I feel like at some level it does translate into some kind of buzz that you create for the film, but eventually I feel like, which again comes back to the kind of connects back to the point of stardom, right? Where like one person becoming the reason to come and for people to come and watch the film is not enough anymore. It has to be the entire cinematic experience.
Right. So, do you have an Insta game?
I don't have an Insta game.
You don't have people telling you do this, do that, dress in this, dress in that.
No, I mean, dress sure, like stylists who
Yeah.
help me
To
pick good outfits.
Yeah.
But that's about it. Like,
Okay.
I mean, in the past, I've had agents advising me on, I should be posting more regularly, etc. Things and those are things that you genuinely do take away from it.
Yeah.
That you become more aware and you're like, okay, so there are certain things that where, you know about, like, if you post at this time, engagement rates are better, etc. But like, apart from that, there's nothing that I really know of or follow. Post pictures whenever I have good pictures, whenever I'm traveling, if I like taking photos. So I like posting those and sharing.
Right.
Yeah.
That and music.
That and music, yeah.
You like
yeah,
sharing
that's-
music as well.
Yeah.
So
Instagram is that, music, and then brand stuff that I do. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, there was a post the release of Tuya Main. The film didn't do too well. One of the things, one of your statements became really viral, which is like, where do actors like me go? It sounded like a howl from the heart, right? It's like, what is the context of that statement?
Well, I feel like it. I did mean it in earnestness, but it also, what I really meant was that I feel like I was maybe trying to say that there needs to be a space for all kinds of films to exist. And I guess this is also me speaking out of my experience of when I was growing up. I remember there were so many different kinds of films that were being made, and they all had some kind of audience. It's not necessary that they were all monstrous hits, but they were breaking even, and they were being appreciated. And now that space of like the variety of films that are being made, I feel like that's kind of like reducing. There's only a certain kind of film that's making a lot of money, or films are not making money at all. So what I guess what I was trying to get at and say was that there needs to be a larger variety of films that people should go and watch, but that's my wishful thinking.
Right.
That's not a reality, and I'm very aware of it. I'm aware of how consumption patterns have changed. I'm aware of like how much effort it takes, even for me as an audience. Forget the fact that I'm an actor, just me as an audience member. When do I really go and watch a film?
Yeah.
When it's my favorite genre, horror, I'm always up for a horror film. Or if there's a film that genuinely everybody's talking about and has like really positive things to say about, like Dhurandhar. That's when I want to get out of my house and go watch a film. Otherwise, even I'm not going and watching a film in the theater. So then, it's kind of unfair of me to expect, but it's wishful thinking.
But don't you think that the logistics of films has
Yeah.
changed in the sense that earlier
Yeah.
there was pretty much only the theatrical money that you got and the music money that you got, pretty much that. But now you could say that a film is a hit if it gets X amount of money from theater, the X amount of money from OTT, X amount of money from music, satellite, so on and so forth. So aren't you living in an era where your metrics have changed a little? So
It's
maybe
fragmented, yeah.
yeah. So maybe theatrical isn't everything.
Sure.
Like let's say
Sure.
Toya Mai releases on it will release on OTT soon, and it just takes off, and
Yeah.
you know they're really happy with it, and that's maybe not the same kind of success as earlier, but it is also a kind of success.
Sure, even for me, like the amount of money that a film makes doesn't define the metric of success. It's a part of the metric of success of a film that I choose to be a part of. I would like for it to make money, of course, because my producers spend so much money, taking me in the film and mounting it on me. So of course I'd want it to make money. But like, is it everything? No, it's not, right? Because I feel like there are lots of films that have made lots of money over the years, but ultimately there are a few films that you remember that you go back and watch again and you still appreciate them for whatever they are, and and those films also age well. They stand the test of time.
Right.
So I would love for my filmography to have those films more than just films that make a lot of money, I guess.
Okay. So looking back, do you feel that like if you wanted the audience to love you a little more, this is like one of those hypothetical questions, right? Maybe instead of a white tiger, you might have done a slightly more commercial thing, something like that. Do you think that at all?
No, I also didn't have the choice.
Right.
I did what I could
Yeah.
when I was starting out.
Would you do a white tiger today?
100%.
So that's not
A
changed.
million times over.
Right.
Million times over. I feel like that gives me the most amount of satisfaction as an actor.
Right. Now, Priyanka Chopra is in that movie, and she is somebody that I really admire because of the way she's handled her career and also the way she speaks and the way the perspective just seems very sorted. Is there something that you took away from her while, in terms of career and stuff like that, while you were in that movie?
So many things. I feel like just her level of empathy towards people around her when she works.
Okay.
It's so important to be able to conduct yourself the way she does. She's really very inspiring to be around.
Okay.
Yeah, very settled. Very. Her energy is so like grounded. Like when you're around her, you really feel it. Yeah.
Okay. And when you have a project like that, does that mean that you kind of get on the global map so that like people who are scouting around for maybe Indian-looking faces for like
Hollywood productions.
Hollywood projects or other things, TV shows and other things. Do you think that also helps in that way? Because I'm also trying to see, yes, individual satisfaction as an actor is one thing, but also growth in terms of trajectory is another thing, right? So
Yeah.
I'm just trying to look at that also.
I mean, at the point in time that I did White Tiger, sir, my only dream was to get work.
Right.
It wasn't. I didn't have any other plan of like, oh, this will be my big break or whatever. It was just like to be able
No,
to
I'm
work.
asking, does it help?
100%.
Okay.
100%. It
Have you
helped me.
got-
It helped me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Immensely.
Okay.
Immensely. But at the time of doing it, one
Yeah.
doesn't think that.
Yeah.
But it did. Like I think it was only after the trailer dropped did I realize the scale of the film.
Right.
Because even till then it didn't hit me. Because we shot the film and then the pandemic happened and then we were all cooked up inside our houses. I would go to the studio to dub. And it was only when the trailer hit and then when the messages started coming in, I was also very fortunate that it came at a time where OTT was peaking.
Yeah.
It was when people didn't have a choice but to sit at home and watch stuff.
Yeah.
I always think about it. Like, you could have made a film as good as White Tiger, but would it have gotten the audience that it did if it released now?
Yeah. OTT was peaking, and I think another thing was also that OTT wasn't as oversaturated as it is today. So two things, right? One is
Yeah.
we were discovering that, wow, this new stuff is on OTT.
Yeah.
The second thing was, you didn't have 500 things to watch.
Watch.
Now I'm like, my
You weren't
watch list
overstimulated.
is scary because every time I keep adding stuff to my watch list, I always feel like, oh my God, there's like some...
I'm scared to talk about things to people because like there are 15 names that are taken that, have you watched this? Have you watched that? Oh, you have to see this. Oh, I'm just like, oh shit. I feel like such a, I haven't seen anything. anything.
Right.
It stresses me out.
So when
Yeah.
you come from a finance background, what made you say, was it a person? Was it just the overall thing? What made you say, I want to be an actor?
I don't know. I guess I just had like a rebel inside of me in some way when I was younger. And my parents encouraged that behavior. And my parents gave me a lot of space to form my own opinions about life and have my own experiences. Even when I was a kid, they treated me like an adult a lot of times. Even when I was a kid, I'm so thankful to them. Like it would have been very easy for for them to be like, just focus on your studies. We know nothing about this. We've just come to Mumbai and now suddenly you want to act also. You don't need to do all this. It was very easy for them to say that. But they chose to say, you know what, if this is what you want to do, I'll take you to the audition. And that's what my mom did. That's what my parents did. Not only that, they also let me handle my own finances since I was 14 or 15 years old. They trusted me with my money. They said, you should be responsible enough to know what you're doing with it. So I feel like it kind of shaped me in a lot of ways.
The way your parents like brought you, because I saw you and Shania on that relationship show, and the others seemed amazed that your parents knew about your relationships like at a younger age when everyone was...
they're not really relationships, but like, whatever they are.
Yeah. We're not going to go to that, but I'm just like, so the it's not coming as a surprise that your parents encourage this thing, because it's usually one thing in the Indian mindset, if I may call it that, maybe not so much now, but is that it's also the parents, they're looking out for your safety, right? Because it's like, it's not that they don't want you to do what you want to do, but because this is such a Wild West kind of thing.
I guess they're just people who wanted me to satisfy my curiosity. They saw this curious spark in me of like, oh, maybe he's interested. Because I did a play, I remember the first time my parents saw me act before My Name is Khan was I'd done a play called The Adventures of Don Quixote in school. And I played Sancho Panza, I was the squire to Don Quixote. That was
the actual Cervantes the novel.
The novel. Yeah, so it was adapted into a play and it was the annual day play of my school in Leelavati by Podar in Bombay. And that was the first time I properly acted, and that was when my parents saw me, and I don't think they expected to see what they did. So, and then when they saw that, okay, this is something that he's, curious about, maybe he can, they were like, we should support him. But at the same time, they were also like, it's not like now this is all that you can do and like not focus on your studies. You have to find a balance. It's not like I was a great student academically. I was doing all right. Yeah, but... And also what was amazing was, for example, in the 9th standard, my school had an option of dropping science. Now, both my parents are, science graduates. So, for them to give me the flexibility to be like, okay, you know what, you can drop science, and if you're finding it hard, and if commerce is what you want to study and you feel like you can study, then do that. To give the 14-year-old that sense of agency and ownership is amazing, right? They had so much understanding. Because I sucked at science, like, okay, drop it.
Yeah, I had to do science.
Exactly. Most kids don't have a choice but to do science. Yeah. And I'm not defending, I should have done science till 10th grade. Honestly, I should have pushed myself. Okay. Lots of basic concepts of science that sometimes I don't even know, and then I have to be told by the people, and I'm like, or I go read up on it by myself. So,
what do you need to know?
Sometimes there are basic things that people are talking about. Like
respiration or something?
No, like... I don't know, some physics related stuff, and like some
people are talking physics related stuff. Like you move around in circles where people are talking physics related stuff.
Yeah,
nice. I don't get that. So it's like, because everything that I learned in school is like this blur. I remember some vague atoms you connected something.
Like I'm talking about 9th, 10th grade physics related stuff that comes up in an everyday conversation, can come up in, not has to.
Yeah. Hey, what do you think about thermodynamics?
No, you're just making me sound like a
No, I'm
nerd.
kidding. I'm just like... No. I'm just trying to understand what is a 9th grade person... Like that. I'm just trying to remember what is physics at that point. It's like Newton's laws.
Well, sometimes even biology, right? Like my partner's into plants, and sometimes she'll talk about like some, I don't know, something plant related, like something that you studied in biology that you would remember from the 9th or 10th grade, be like, yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I don't have that.
Okay. Yeah. I guess it's like I don't miss it at all, because like I don't know how I studied all that and just completely just erased it from my mind. It's just like it's
yeah, for most people they've erased. Yeah.
It's just because I think you studied because you want to get to the test. And once the test is over, because you never cared about it. Whereas you ask me which year Citizen Kane is released, I'll tell you. It's bizarre. 42? It's just like...
So 1942?
41.
40?
41, 42. Yeah, that. Because 1939 was that big year for Hollywood with Gone with the Wind and Casablanca, all those big Wizard of Oz and that kind of a thing. So I think Citizen Kane came 2 years after that.
But the subject that I was interested in was history. There was only two subjects. English literature and history that I studied with actual interest because there were stories. And I didn't know, but now I know why, right? Like
Yeah.
now it makes sense.
As in
As in,
because
you
of
know, like,
stories.
because, you know, like, there's a reason why I love reading scripts, and because there's love doing films is also because I like to read and I get to read a script and get to like actually sit and break it down. And similar to what I was studying in literature and history in school, you know, when we would critically analyze like a play or like a story.
I have a friend who's a philosophy student who says that all of history is fake because history is written by the victors and you get to hear only one side of the story.
It. Yeah, sure.
And you just don't know what which.
But the politics of it is only when you start getting aware of later on.
Yeah.
Initially, you're just treating it. My mind was treating it like a story.
100%. Like
Yeah.
it's for me it was myths, right? It's like I was very into mythology. Like I'm not a particularly into religion or spirituality or whatever it is, but just the fact that these grand stories were happening with bad guys and good guys.
Exactly.
And, that was just fascinating.
Exactly.
So that's like
Yeah.
and history I guess is an extension of that.
Yeah,
Which is
yeah.
kind of.
I was in third year college and I was like, oh shit, I should have done my graduation in history. It was too late. I was
you know
studying
what?
financial management.
It's like if you are going to get a degree, it's better to get one in commerce or science or something like that. What do you do with history? I'm just like genuinely curious.
Well, I don't know. There's so many things. that you can do.
Anthropology. When people do these things, what do they end up doing? It's like
Well, I don't know. They write a PhD paper. They write thesis papers on it. They teach. There's so many.
There
You
are
can become
like
a historian. You can, yeah. I just, it's so amazing. The family whose house I was staying at in Assam yesterday, her daughter studied museology. So it's a study of museums, and then you get museology. Yeah. So then you get to work at. Unfortunately, there aren't a lot of museums here, but it's a cool thing to study, right? Like. If I'd study, I'd rather do something like that, invest 3 years of my life to actually then know about one thing in complete detail rather than know nothing about anything. Like, I have no idea what I studied in college. You asked me, what did I study? Financial management. What is that? Study of stock markets and commodity markets. What do you know about it? Nothing.
Can you get on your phone and do like get on Zerodha or something? And
I am on Zerodha, but it's
Okay.
not like I'm researching company trends and, looking at their balance sheets and making very informative decisions. My decisions are more on the basis of, okay, you know about something, you tell me, I'll put money.
Who handles your money?
Me.
You're good at that.
I'm okay at that.
Okay. Why don't you want to
alright.
give it to somebody who's actually good at that?
Well, there are some things that are given to some people who are good at what they do, like, but Zerodha is, yeah.
Yeah, that's your stuff. So
Yeah.
So when you're doing this play and your parents are kind of encouraging you and saying let's follow this curiosity, what is it about acting that when you look at what is it about acting that attracted you? Is it this thing about being able to tell stories? Is it being able to be part of stories? What was it?
I guess what I really enjoy is playing characters.
Make believe that aspect?
I guess so, of disassociating with myself temporarily for some time, for a few hours, for the purpose of exercise even. And then try to think like another person and I guess it's also because it lets me be a child. I feel like it's a very childish thing to do, what actors do. Just like trying to convince themselves and the world that there's something that they're not, right? It's what children do.
Yeah,
when
there was
they're playing.
somebody who said that acting is not a serious profession. Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah.
He said that. It's like it's kind of like what you said. It's like you just go out there, you learn a bunch of lines, you say them, you get that kind. I mean, of course you never know at what point of his life he's saying this and what made him say this. Maybe it's not the truth, but it made me think. It's like he said it's not a serious profession. So
It's not.
it's not.
I mean, it's as serious as you want it to be. It has to be serious when you want to make it. I mean, when it has to be serious, and that I guess comes out in like how much you practice the craft and how much you love and how much you invest. How much do you give the craft that you want from it back?
What do you think about things like people who take acting to take it can be taken seriously? What do you think about things like the method and things like that?
Sure. I mean, I feel like I will always appreciate and have appreciation for anybody who's investing and like their time and wanting to understand the craft better. And I feel like people who've genuinely studied method acting and Stanislavski and who've spent the number of hours in trying to, find whatever their truth from that process for them is, I have a lot of respect and appreciation for that. I haven't studied Stanislavski, so what I do is, I guess what I've studied, like a bunch of things from here, a bunch of things from there, and then kind of formed my own.
So take me through, let's say, take the character of Flo from Tu Ya Main.
Yeah.
Do you ever forget that you're Adarsh Gourav and become Flo? Or how does that, what is that, when they say action,
Yeah.
what happens?
It happens much before action.
Okay.
It happens 2 months before the first time action is called.
Right.
That's when you start thinking from the person's mind and start using a little bit of your practical experience, a little bit of your imagination, a little bit of what you're experiencing right now in terms of if I'm going to Govandi and if I'm talking to people, what are the kind of stories that they're telling me? What is their lingo? How is the way that their bodies are moving and their hands are moving differently from a person who's not lived that life and who's lived like a very, he's gone to an international school, and like how does his body move versus how does this guy's body move? How much space does he occupy?
Right.
So there are lots of these things that you observe and that you constantly are soaking in for when the action is called, that thing to just come alive instantly, because by then you've practiced it enough number of times in your body and in your mind for it to come out.
Right.
It doesn't happen at action.
No, I know that it doesn't, the prep begins long.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to get at is, because you said you like to do this, I like to pretend I'm somebody else.
Yeah.
Are you, like, when, the camera goes on, are you, when you'll actually, all that prep is coming to the final point where that it has to be of use, are you able to literally imagine yourself as
I'm
Flo?
able to forget. I'm able to forget that, who Adarsh is.
Oh, nice.
My truth is Flo's truth in that moment.
At that moment?
It has to be, otherwise you won't believe me.
Right.
If I don't believe it, you won't believe it if you watch it.
Right.
So I have to believe it.
Okay.
And that's what the practice helps in doing, in believing that.
Right. So you said a little bit of this, little bit of that. Like, can you give me a couple of, like, because method is a well documented, because it's memory exercises, go back to that memory, things like that. What is it that you do? I mean, you explained some of it now, but
Yeah.
Is it something you don't want to say? Is that why you're
No,
smiling?
it's not that.
Yeah.
It's just, I feel like it's so vague and so, I don't know how to
We'll
explain.
make it specific. You start with the vague stuff.
Well, a lot of it comes from the script itself, the story itself, on reading it as many times as you can. Sometimes it comes from the places that I visit to get inspiration from while studying a character, like all these places that I visit in. And it doesn't even have to be the main person that I'm talking to. It could be one of his groupies who's in the group that I'm looking at while he's talking to me, and it could come from him.
Right.
Maybe something that he's done. It also comes from like other external things like, I don't know, animal study. And does a person remind you of a particular animal? Do you associate him with a particular animal? And then can I use that in some way to make the walk interesting? To, maybe give him some very particular justice or quirk. Not that I've done this in Tu Ya Main, but like, in the past. So there are lots of things. It's just basically like a chemical lab where you're just like pouring liquids into.
So again, to get to how you got to Flo, just give me a couple of specific things that like I saw this person there and I took the walk from there, something like that, like that helped you shape this character of Flo.
I think what helped me the most was just visiting underground artists and rappers from different parts of Mumbai.
That was
When I went to Nalasopara, when I went to Govandi, when I met, rappers from these areas, and when I asked them questions about how was your childhood, ask them very specific questions that I feel are related to my story.
Yeah.
So then that helps me draw from the way they talk, as I said. Yeah, things like that.
Okay. That, like, when you ask somebody about their childhood, that the response that they give is helping you how?
Is helping me understand the psychology of what somebody from this place would think like.
Okay.
And because this is where Maruti Kadam would also come from.
Right. Which is the real name of the character of Flo.
Yeah.
For those who haven't seen the movie
Yeah,
yet. Okay,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Okay. All right.
Like, what does it feel to grow up in a place where there is no electricity, no 24/7 water, when you haven't gone to like a good school, you've probably gone to a government school. By good and bad, I mean like some, a place that has more chaos than like a private school.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like these kind of questions is what leads to the forming of the backstory of the character.
Right. Is it hard to see, every character is different, right? But given the fact that you grew up in an urban space or came from a slightly privileged background and all that, does it make certain characters a little harder to enter than certain other characters? Like Balram Halwai, for instance, how was it getting into that space? Because and that was like much like very early in your like career.
Yeah.
Because I'm not counting My Name Is Khan, for instance, because that's
Yeah, very small roles also.
Yeah. So
Sir, actually, I've had a very interesting childhood and in general growing up because I went to a very good school, but it's not like we came from a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's very weird. My parents always wanted to put me in the best of educational institutions and give me the best of exposure, even if it meant that the family had to cut corners in other ways.
right.
You know what I mean? So I studied in Podar, but like the way other kids, their relationship with money was different and my relationship with money was different.
Okay.
So while I was studying and being surrounded by these people, I was also at the same time in touch with a lot of my friends from Jamshedpur. I was also at the same time had neighborhood friends that came from very different strata of society. So I was never alienated from any strata of society. I've studied in Mithibai and NM and Podar, but I've always been friends with people from all over. And I've also lived in Dahisar for 1 year where people talk very differently. And again, their relationship with things are very different. So I feel like I've been fortunate in having a lot of exposure to different things so that when I actually have to play a character, I'm never completely at a loss of like, I have no idea who this person is.
Yeah.
You know, like that can happen to you.
Yeah.
I feel like I've had friends who are very rich and I've had friends who really struggled.
Yeah. And even something like your 3-week trip to the Northeast.
Yeah.
You never know when that's going to come in useful for a future part that you're in
Sure.
fact, even while you were reading those 5 scripts, maybe some ideas you got in there or whatever it is. So I have a couple of other questions about acting, which is like, one is you talked about getting into character, which is the internal part, right? Which also informs the external part. So when you're in a swimming pool thrashing around with a giant crocodile, which is this very visceral externalization of the performance, right? Which is like, it's not like I'm looking at you and saying,
It's not a psychological.
it's not a psychological thing.
Purely
It's more like
psychological.
I'm using my arms and legs and whatever, with fear on my face kind of a thing. How does that happen? Like,
Well, I think that just comes from believing in the reality of the situation.
Okay.
If there would actually be a crocodile, you would have like a very visceral physical reaction. It can't be contained.
right.
So
My-
it just comes from
So my
believing in the
curiosity is
situation.
again, you know that it's a fake crocodile, but you got to believe that it's
You
a
got to
real
fool
crocodile.
your mind, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So how does that?
Well, I guess just imagination.
Okay. History.
History. Yeah. I guess you have to be able to fool your mind to be, like, when you act.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many things that are not happening to you that as an audience you are experiencing the whole thing together.
Right.
But at a given moment as an actor you're not.
Right.
You are exposed to a very specific element of the entire picture.
Yeah.
But if you don't believe in the entire picture, the audience doesn't.
Yeah.
So that's where the imagination has to come in.
Yeah. There's a Hollywood actor that said that acting is one of the toughest things because you're constantly aware of the crowds on set, and there's lights, and there's the camera that's looking at you, and you have to hit the mark because somebody's put an X tape on the floor, and you've got to do that, and then your co-star has to be at this angle, and you've got to turn this particular way, and in the middle of all this, you've got to pretend as if you're finding these emotions for the very first time.
Yeah.
Do you kind of
It's
relate
weird.
to that?
You have to operate with an equal amount of awareness and surrender at the same time.
Right.
It's strange. To get like a truthful moment out, you have to find both.
Right. What has been your most truthful moment? One of your most truthful moments on screen when you see yourself?
I guess White Tiger had a few. Guns and Gulabs, there was a couple of moments.
Like, just tell me one of those moments, as in when you saw those.
There was a scene with Raj Bhai where I really enjoyed it. And there was also a scene where I'm talking to my friend's wife and I'm inspecting her bangles. Feel like there was something very truthful
Something
that
nice
happened.
happened.
Yeah, something nice happened there.
So when you see yourself on screen, you become like an outsider. You're able to forget what went into the performance.
I want to be able to forget
Okay.
what went into my performance.
Okay. Are you able to do that though?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes I'm able to watch myself and be like, yeah, I feel that.
I feel that.
Yeah.
Nice. We did a nice job.
Yeah.
So, and the other question I want to ask you about acting is with a co-star, right? Because there's Shania or anybody, Priyanka, Shah, whoever comes, they're all coming with their own styles of acting and their own ways of being. And how do you mesh your thing with their thing? Like, what is that something you do with workshops? Do you kind of, that's when the meshing happens, or what are the things that happen?
I guess I just try to listen to them.
So
I'm not like
as in you just have conversations.
I ask questions.
Okay.
I have conversations with them.
But this is not in character. This is you
Not
being
in
Adarsh.
character.
Okay.
Yeah. Me being Adarsh.
Okay.
Like before the film starts.
Okay.
Just gauging, and then workshops help a lot. Even with Shania, like me and her did 4 to 5 days of just exploring certain scenes, but going off the script. Exploring it as Maruti and as Avni, but like an improvised situation. For example, we did a scene in the workshop where Avni gets dropped by a friend in a car on the highway because she's had a fight with this friend, and Maruti is Maruti, and his bike has gotten spoilt on the highway. So now both these strangers are stranded on the highway, and how do they talk and figure to get out of the situation?
So like an improv kind of situation. Okay.
So these kind of things help a lot because they're informing you about the character than the scene, and that's what's important.
And
Once you know the person that you're playing, you can be in any situation and it will come out of you, whatever has to come out.
right.
But you have to know the person you're playing.
Right. And have you been in a situation where, because of various reasons, let's say Priyanka was shooting somewhere, she was in a fashion show, somebody landed just before. I'm not talking about that particular situation, but anybody you could not have this pre-bonding with.
Yeah.
And you just pretty much met them the day you're supposed to perform the scene. Has that also happened?
Yeah, lots of times.
Okay.
Lots of times.
What then?
Then you just surrender to the situation and you hope that everything goes well.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Okay.
I mean, see, all these luxuries of having a workshop and all is now, na? Like earlier,
No. Yeah.
so there was nothing. I mean, there was actually, even for Leila, I had played a small character, but Deepa Mehta had a 3 to 4 day workshop. Even in hostel days, we had some readings, but it wasn't the norm every time.
No, but when you say, I'm also reminded of the fact that, your generation has this privilege of working with filmmakers who actually have a certain process, which is not to dismiss earlier filmmakers.
Yeah.
But they worked in a very free-flowing manner.
It was
where,
styles of working were very different. Yeah.
Where styles of working were very different, where you'd be given dialogue on the sets and things like that, which is a bit nerve-wracking. So I'm imagining, yes, the Salim Javed films were different, but I'm imagining somebody like Amitabh Bachchan, being given the dialogue and saying, and then being so convincing on screen, having
so
just
much
learned
skill.
that dialogue 5 minutes before the camera rolled. It's sounds insane, right?
It's crazy. It's scary. It's scary to think how people did it and did it so well.
So well, with such conviction.
Such
because
conviction.
the other thing that amazes me about older actors is if you watch some of these films, it's there's a certain amount of realism, and that's a bad word to use, but what I'm trying to say is maybe a little bit of true to lifeness in the films that are being done now and the films or the series that are being done now. Whereas earlier things they were much more dramatic, melodramatic, and they operated at a much higher pitch, and you were asked to do things that you may never do in real life, nobody would do in real life, but they were cinematic and interesting. I don't know, Amitabh talking about a cockroach, or things like that, or even some of the Shah Rukh films, the early ones, which you're kind of getting into one zone where you're not really looking at whether this might happen in real life and would I get a real reference, but in a very, very fictional zone, which is kind of a thing that has stopped happening. And I think one of the reasons the Pushpas and the RRRs and the other things work is because that there's still a large audience out there that loves this suspension of disbelief, where they get into travel into a very different world from their own. And I think I'm coming back to the where we started, which is which is why they go to theaters. They get to. I'm just what do you think? I'm just randomly riffing.
I'm also processing what you're saying. As you're saying, I feel that could be a very relevant point about why films in the South, work the way they do.
Yeah.
It's completely, it's a very plausible point.
Yeah, because of course, we can't go and take a survey of everybody saying why you watch the film, but that larger than lifeness is a big part of movie making to many people. And when there's a big screen and larger than life stuff, of course, maybe critics may diss it or whatever it is, but
that's also a very specific skill. Not everybody can convince you for the larger than lifeness of them. it's a very, very specific skill that very few people have, is why we have such few stars.
No, I don't think it's about stardom. It's about, like, for instance, if you take the people who came out in the 80s, right? Who pretty much made their names in the 80s. I just saw Subedar and with Anil Kapoor in it. And whatever you may think of the movie, he's fantastic in it. You know, it's like he nails that I can be this one-man army, who's of a certain age. He completely is able to do that, right? And I don't think many people can do that. It's like the suspension of disbelief that you say that you need as an actor.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need that as a viewer as well.
Sure.
I don't need that, let's say, for a Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara.
Sure.
Though, even though there's this slightly cinematic humor and all that kind of stuff, it's in a very
realistic
kind of tone where I'm enjoying it, but I'm also, if I had a lot of money, that could be me.
I think the flair of the character also comes from the script. You
Right.
can't force that on a story or a script. Right?
Yeah.
Amitabh Bachchan as Don and Shah Rukh Khan as Don, they have a flair and a flamboyance because that's the character. It comes from the script. The way everything around them is also pitched.
Yeah.
It's seldom in a place where everything is realistic and then suddenly the character has a crazy flair.
Yeah. No, 100%. 100%.
It's the whole world only that's
The
built
world is larger
around
than
it.
life. Yeah, that's true. So, if you were to play Don, why are you laughing?
No, sure.
But the whole thing is, we're talking about getting into character, right?
Yeah.
If you were to play Don, don't laugh. What would that world be like?
I don't know. I would know only when I'm playing Don.
Right.
But I'd love to play a gangster.
Yeah.
I was very close to playing a gangster. Mm-hmm. In Guns and Gulabs I did, but it's different. But that film didn't happen.
Right.
The one in which I was going to.
Like, for instance, if you told me before Tu Ya Main that you could be convincing as Flo, I might have had a tough time imagining it. I wouldn't have doubted your ability to pull it off, but in my head, I would have had, okay, what would this person look like? What would this person do? How would this person talk? How would this person behave? That's what's interesting. So when I'm not able to imagine you right now as a Don. So I'm like trying to see if you have any ideas about what would that be like.
I don't know.
Would you wear a fedora?
A fedora? Like a fedora hat? Yeah, why not? If it's a character that comes from a place where fedora hats are relevant and if he has an inspiration of somebody who wears a fedora hat, yes.
Yeah.
It has to make sense.
It has to make sense, yeah. Yeah. So
it can't be for the optics. It can't be because I look good enough. I mean, sure, it can be also. It could be the kink of my character. I like fedora hats.
yeah. You could like fedora hats and velvet suits.
Sure.
Yeah. It'd be a thing that you could go for. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So somebody just manifest it out there that somebody makes you a gangster. That's
I'm actually doing a very different gangster film with Prosit Roy next year. It's called Gangster on the Run. It's based on a Vice documentary. Mm-hmm. It's a very interesting script.
Yeah. I'm saying manifest a larger than life gangster.
Oh yeah, larger than life gangster. Yeah. Yeah, because this is again, it's a bit in the realistic space.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Do you think that happens because once you make, let's say, 4 or 5 movies in a particular space, people see you only in that space?
Yeah, I mean, it's like people's imagination will be restricted by what you serve them. Mm-hmm. Which is also why it's important that I keep playing different kinds of people for people's imagination to be alive about how they want to cast me and where they want to see me.
So you actively seek out roles that, what if you got a role tomorrow that was that, like the rapper part of Flow, but it was a very good script? Would you say, this is a really good script, but I've already shown this rapper side of me, but I don't want to do that? Or
probably not immediately after I've played a rapper. But if the human in the rapper interests me, then why not?
Oh, yeah. So
I will look less at the profession of the person unless it's relevant to the script, and I'll look more at the human being that he is to consider whether I should play him or not.
Right, nice. But what I'm trying to say is that, are you right now, can you tell me some of the roles that you're doing right now so that I get an idea of how your spectrum is?
Right now the only thing that I'm doing is Alien Season 2. That's
okay.
I'm not doing anything else. I just did a travel show and I did a Telugu film that's going to come out in a couple of months.
Okay.
Which is
Birthday.
Yeah, Birthday. Yeah.
The one that Pratik is scoring music for.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So that's a very interesting film.
Okay. Is that horror as well?
That's psychological horror.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's largely a silent film.
Okay.
Yeah.
You speak Telugu fluently?
I speak Telugu.
Okay.
But my Telugu is it's fluent, but it's not fluent. It's manageable, but it's different from how people in Telangana or Andhra speak because I've never lived there. So my Telugu has been restricted to the amount of people that I speak speak the language in.
Yeah.
My grandparents and my parents, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. So there's that and this other gangster thing that you're doing, which is
Yeah. That Prosit's film is next year though. He's
Okay.
still writing it.
So in this current acting scenario where you're pretty much everything is planned so well, uh, do you, how many films can you fit into a year?
I don't know. I wouldn't want to do more than 2 to 3 max. Like last year, I did 2 films. I think. Yeah.
Okay.
2 to 3 films max. Because I also need time to prep. I'm also trying to do music. I want to start going live from next year. I want to start have my own gigs.
Okay.
Yeah. So I want to invest a lot more time in music as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
How has your Hindustani classical training helped?
The first time in life when I found a purpose was because of Hindustani music.
How old were you when you started?
I was 4.5 when I started.
Lovely. Okay.
But I was very lucky that I found a purpose when I was 13 or 14 to have that clarity of I want to do this and not be flaky about it is rare for a child to have. And I had
But
that.
you're talking about acting though.
I'm talking about music.
Oh, music. Okay.
I didn't want to act when I was young, right? Because I didn't know that I could act. So growing up in Jamshedpur, I was very sure about the fact that I want to do music, and it carried when I came to Mumbai. Even though I started acting, I still wanted to do music. I didn't think that acting would take me anywhere. It was something that I thought I got lucky with and something that's just happening on the side. But the odds of it working out in my favor were like I never gave it any chance in my head.
Is it easy being a musician in India?
Depends on the kind of musician you want to be.
Okay. What kind of musician do you want to be?
Right now, I want to be a different musician. But when I was growing up, when I quit classical, I got into progressive rock and prog metal and stuff. It was such a niche genre and still is that there were barely any people that were turning up for our gigs, and even bigger bands that were in that genre. There was very, very less support. It wasn't enough for you to make a life out of or even pay your rent in Mumbai. So, which is also kind of the reason why the band split after college, and people, like I guess, were more practical in what they wanted to do and how they wanted to support themselves. And that forced me to choose acting in a way.
Right. Did you see Rock On?
Yeah, I saw Rock On in the theatre when I was 13.
Did you identify a lot with what that?
When I saw Rock On, the story of Rock On hadn't happened with me. It happened with me 2 years after.
Okay. And then you thought about it.
Yeah, then I was like, oh shit.
That was my story.
Yeah.
Okay. So, so you're going to be practicing a lot of music. You're going to be.
Yeah. I want to, of course, practice, make a lot of my own music. Currently looking at like a lot of exciting. I'm listening to a lot of different kinds of music to kind of figure the producers that I want to work with. What is my sound as a musician that I want? So I'm figuring all of that. But I'm excited to put things out. I have 2 songs that are ready. I'm aiming at finishing 2 more before I leave in May, because I'm gone for 6 months, so it'll be hard for me to, and
This is for a shoot?
this is for Alien,
Right.
for season 2 of. Yeah, I'm hoping that I can finish the other 2 songs and get my EP out before I leave, because Gelia has, I feel like the song I didn't expect it to have the kind of audience it did.
Right.
First of all, when Bijoy agreed to have it in the film, it was such a nonchalant, like non-dramatic moment for me to make my debut as a playback singer in my own film. It's crazy, right? Because I had been trying to kind of soft seed my skill as a singer into all the films projects that I've been part of. I always have these conversations with the filmmakers. Hey, by the way, I also sing, and then subtly I'll play some video of mine or some, in the hope that, because I don't know if I can just directly be like, hey, please just give me a chance to sing in your film. That's just, so I'll try to do it in other ways, but never worked. And for Bijoy to just agree so instantly, like he was just like, hey, what do you do today? I said, oh, I did some music. Hey, what kind of music do you do? Oh, this kind of music. Oh, play a song. Play my song. Can I buy this? Can I get this for my film? It all happened in like 3 minutes. So it was too quick. Yeah. So especially the positiveness with which Gelia has been received, I feel, has given me a lot of encouragement to really pursue music, and a lot of other people who've been telling me, please take this seriously.
So whether it's acting is a little different because it's done in a kind of a closed area with people who pretty much are in tune with what's happening. But whether it's stand-up or whether it's music, your audience is like all over the place, right? You don't know who you're playing to. You don't know who's going to be there. Have you ever been are you You've always been very confident about stuff, or have you been like, are you a guy who's like, you wait, you're a little nervous until you gauge the energy of the room? Or?
I think the thing that's helped me the most in life is confidence.
You're very confident.
I don't know about if I'm very confident or not, but I get it from my mother.
Fantastic.
My mother made sure that I started speaking up for myself about what I want to do, about going up on stage, about how I interact. She gave me a lot of that confidence to have that confidence. I feel like for any performer, when you start going up on stage from such a young age, you automatically start developing confidence, right? Your relationship with people changes.
Yeah.
As opposed to somebody who doesn't go on stage. Suddenly you're in front of like 200-300 people, 50 people even, 25 people even. It does something to you psychologically. Yeah.
I think from the way you explain it, I think maybe it's because at that age, you have not yet started processing thoughts like, what are they going to think of me and other things?
And you can see that from what you do, you can hold people's attention if you do it well. That gives you confidence.
Right.
So it didn't necessarily translate into confidence in other areas of life, but there were some areas in life where I was very confident suddenly. And also shameless. I feel like shamelessness is something that's helped me a lot.
Nice. Like in terms of pursuing roles or?
No, just in terms of being.
Okay.
About who I am, about how I want to be in public with anybody.
Would you say shamelessness is?
Again, it's the childishness.
Unapologetic that way?
The childishness.
Okay.
The shamelessness is childishness.
Okay, like what is shamelessness? I mean, as in?
I guess whatever people call being weird is.
Okay.
But embracing it.
Okay.
Because knowing that is what makes you who you are.
Yeah. You're basically saying that whoever Adarsh Gourav is in real life, I embrace that person.
Yeah. You have to accept and embrace that person to, I guess, help you in other ways.
And I guess the people that don't end up having a lot of issues because there is a lot of so much uncertainty around in this profession, and I guess today's life itself. So there's like what do I do? Like we were talking a little earlier about Insta game and all that. Sometimes I see people not being very sure about what they want to project and how they want to project themselves. So yeah, I guess.
Not being sure is fine. Even I'm not sure a lot of times. Yeah. It's not like I know completely what I'm doing or where I'm going, or I have like a plan. I know that this is the point that I want to reach in 3 years. Even I don't know that.
Right.
I think that's different. But I feel like even just I feel like people have a lot of these, and even me, like we constantly are trying to conform to certain standards, certain norms, what is acceptable, what is not. And you have to do that to a point where you don't get like, you can't be whatever you want in front of the camera. Obviously, there has to be a certain level of filter, etc. But at the same time, I feel like you also have to allow yourself to be.
Right.
And I am able to do that.
Right. There is a lot of anti-Bollywood sentiment right now. Not right now. It's been there for about, I think, 5 years now. What is your sense of all that?
Like what in specific? So
specific as in like, it could be the way, for instance, when Arijit retired or whatever it is, it was like, oh God, the music industry is terrible. Or when, like some film doesn't take off, oh my God, this is terrible. Or film is being sold to OTT, whatever, this film is dumped or whatever it is. So there's a lot of, everything that happens becomes big news and in a negative way.
There's just opinion clutter. People didn't have the access to give their own opinions on public platforms before, and now they do.
Okay.
It's just now there's a lot more voices, and earlier there weren't.
Right.
That is why there's constantly a feeling of like almost like nausea from the information that you're surrounded by.
So you think it's basically clickbait?
No, it's not clickbait. It's people expressing what they think is relevant or what they feel about, and they would have done the same 25 years ago, but didn't have the platform or the agency, and now they do.
Okay.
But it's also like I feel like we are a generation that's contrived ADHD.
Okay.
People who weren't born with ADHD also now have self-induced ADHD because of the amount of information and the speed at which we are consuming things.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not seeing how this relates to that.
Even I don't know.
Because suddenly
that is my ADHD.
That's your issue. Okay, right. Okay. That was good actually. So, yeah. But I'm glad you said that because I was like, am I missing something? It's just like, did I just like, was it a generational thing that I just missed because this is connected to that? Or like,
Is it though? I don't know. Maybe it is in my head. I drew some connection to it, but
Yeah, you did some like you were in character as the interviewee, and then you suddenly had something happen. So
no, I think my brain drew some connection and then forgot what the connection was.
okay, one of the actors that many young actors today use as an idol is Timothée Chalamet, because of the kind of roles that he's done and the way he's meticulously built his career. Is he some kind of idol to you? Is he somebody, not idol is a wrong word, but is he somebody that you're inspired by?
I think he's a very interesting performer. Yeah, I like watching Timothée Chalamet on screen.
Yeah. What do you think of Marty Supreme?
I think it was frantic. It
Okay.
was very dizzying. But it's again, what I got from Uncut Gems. It's just the tone,
The energy,
the energy of the film.
Yeah, yeah.
I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed his performance. I feel like it's rare to find such character in a film. Like in the film at large, the film having such a clear character is very rare, and I enjoyed that.
Right. When you look at actors or watch films, do you pick up stuff from there as well? Like as in, or because I know that some directors say that they do not watch films because they do not want other directors' styles influencing them. They've said as much, though I'm not sure that really works because, but yeah, that's their belief. How do you watch films? Do you watch it as just an audience, or do you watch films as an actor?
I also watch it as an actor.
Okay.
There's lots of times when I will rewind and rewatch a scene for how the actor has done it.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm not watching it to necessarily be like, you know what, this pause that he did, I want to steal that. It's also genuinely of like, what is he going through when he's doing it, or I don't know. It's something more. The intention is to not copy, but to just be curious and, as you said, like be inspired in some way. Just be wowed by something, when
Yeah, no. What I'm asking is because when I started out as a writer, I would all my idol writers were the people that I would read all the time simply because I wanted to be like that.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if it's something like that where you're kind of not exactly the same way, but in a way that you're like, wow, this is a great performance. I want to know what went into it, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
While also not copying that kind of a thing because I do.
You can't, because it'll be very false. You have to find the truth. You can appreciate somebody else's truth and be like, wow, this is amazing. It's like when I watch an Irfan Khan film, Hasil or Maqbool, I'll watch it over and over again just to see him as the character and all the tiny things that he's done with it, and be like, okay, these are the things that are making me feel what he wants me to feel about it. So it's in that sense you draw that correlation with it, but you can't take that directly and then put it into your character because that's not who your character is unless
Obviously, yeah.
you're given the exact same script. If you're doing a different script with a different director, which has a different tone, you can't possibly do that.
Yeah. So let's go back into that. We talked about Marty Supreme, we talked about the Irfan, but let's go back to that other thing we talked about, which is like this larger than life zone. When you watch a Pathan or a Jawan, how do you process that as an actor?
I enjoy it for the spectacle it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
But do you also like as in, because you've not done a certain kind of romance or a certain kind of action,
Yeah.
do you also kind of put yourself in like, that's something that I would like to do, that's
Completely depends on
completely
depends on who the filmmaker is. Is it a character that I would like to do?
Right.
I guess.
Yeah, because
I'll be honest with you, sir. I didn't grow up on a lot of commercial cinema, so the impact that it's had on me is very limited.
okay, all right, that makes sense. Okay, that
I grew, Jamshedpur had 2 theaters, and I probably watched 8 films in Jamshedpur till I was 13. I can name you all 8.
name.
There was Yuva, there was Kaante, there was Jurassic Park, there was Titanic, there was Aap Mujhe Achhe Lagne Lage.
That's commercial.
My uncle and aunt took me for that. They used to love Abhishek Bachchan. And there was Dhoom, commercial as heck. My brother and his friends, never forget that experience. That's it.
Right.
Those are the films I've seen.
You're right.
So my exposure to commercial cinema was so limited, apart from Dhoom and Aap Mujhe Achhe Lagne Lage. was that it never had that.
So you never had that, like people say, I wanted to grow up to these X star, Y
No.
star. That was
No,
never.
it wasn't relatable to me when people around me were talking like that. I couldn't relate to it at all.
Okay. You were just like, I want to be an actor, not like I want to be like this person.
I said that when I was probably 19 or 20 for the first time, that I want to
Actor.
be an actor.
Yeah, but even then, it wasn't
Yeah.
like I want to, like,
Not
want to be this specific
no.
trajectory actor. Not
No.
that. It
No.
was, I want to be in this
I
profession.
just want to act because I like
You like acting.
the skill of it. Yeah,
Right.
I like what I get to do with it.
Right. Because I see that even Tuya Mein, I know a lot, there has been a lot of back and forth about whether Tuya Mein really needed the romance portion. But it really worked for me. And I was like, it really worked for me because I was like, wow, I'm getting to know these two people before they get into that horrible situation. And that getting to know them was it was very interesting to me because the character that you played, the character that Shania played, and obviously whatever was written by Himanshu and Abhishek. So all that stuff, like the way Bijoy filmed it, it was like watching two people from a very, like this old, it's such a cliche, right? It's like rich girl, poor boy, or poor girl, rich boy. That contrast is such a cliche, but the way it played out in this film was so beautiful. And
Because I guess Bijoy encouraged us to play the people and
Yeah.
not the tone of it.
yeah,
He was always very sure
what's
about
tone
it.
of it?
The tone of it, it's like you can play the idea of the
Oh,
person
right.
because it's a commercial film.
Yeah.
Or you can actually just be honest to the story and think about what this person would actually behave
Right.
like,
As opposed to the broad strokes of.
as opposed to imposing the commercial lens on it.
Okay. Would you say Tu Yam as a commercial film?
Yes.
Okay.
I think any film that releases in a large number of screens is a commercial film for me.
There's also an ethos or an aesthetic that's commercial, right?
Sure.
That's not related to the number of screens.
Yes. But your ethos will dictate the number of screens you have.
Okay. That sounded like a very.
But you get what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't make a film of a certain tone and be like, hey, distributor,
But
you put
didn't
this in your
get
theater.
a
It had a big
large,
release.
big release? Yeah.
For me, it was the biggest release I've had.
Mhm.
It was almost twice the number of screens that any of my previous films have had.
So
at
if
least
you,
twice.
If you were to take away a learning from this film, what would it be? Learnings.
There's no learnings, I'm just grateful that I got to be learning in the sense that yes, I'm very grateful for the fact that I got to be in front of as many people as I could. I had access to a larger number of people. I'm grateful.
As an audience?
As an audience.
Okay.
I feel like at least 10,000 people more in India know about who I am as opposed to what they did before Tu Yam Hai. At least.
Right.
The number could be much larger, I'm guessing. And I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for Bijoy and Anand sir giving me an opportunity to lead a commercial film in that sense and to be able to sing and rap in the film. It's rare for an actor to get that chance. Very rare. Very rare.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's good. And I think.
I was talking to a friend of mine right after the release, and I guess that day I was like a bit, overwhelmed by everything that was happening. There's so much, like, you're in the middle of it. You're hearing about how much film the money is making at the box office. You're hearing people's opinions, everything. And I remember speaking to a friend, and he told me that, you're so lucky that you're like one out of probably like 50 people in the entire Hindi movie industry who has a film where you're getting to play the lead in like a Anand L. Rai film with Bijoy Nambia directing it. Just the fact that you have this opportunity is so rare, where so many people want to be actors in our country and the competition is so intense. When you put things just into perspective a little bit, suddenly you have a lot more to be thankful for.
No, but you're right, because that perspective is very important, but what happens with human nature is that we always look at what we don't have rather than what we have.
Yeah.
And that's something that everyone has to train themselves to kind of think.
I feel like when you start focusing on the right things and things that actually matter, the world kind of falls into place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like everything else around you kind of realigns and adjusts.
Yeah, but then you also spoke about we're living in an age of so much information that even if you want to cut off certain let's say negativity or whatever it is,
Yeah.
somehow it makes its way to you, and that's irritating because you're like trying your best to stay away from it all, but then some well-meaning friend will say like, hey, look what just I found about you or something like that, and you're
It's like you get the best blinds, but you always have that one place from where the sunlight is hitting your eye.
yeah, that's a great example. Yeah, okay. So it was great talking to Adarsh.
Likewise.
I was like,
I'm sorry if I was babbling a little bit.
I love the babbling bit because sometimes these very tuned and focused answers, they seem rehearsed, and I like that I got a hazy picture of you rather than a super in focus picture of you, which
like
means
hazy
that
pictures.
there's more of you to explore, and I think maybe we can do that in the future. But right now, all the best. I hope Tu Ya Main finds its audience on OTT, finds a larger audience
I hope
on
so.
OTT, and all the best.
Thank you, sir.
Also for your music.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
டார்லிங் ஏசி திருவிழா இந்தியாவிலே குறைந்த மாத தவணையில் ஏசி.
சம்மர் வந்தாச்சு, எங்க கிட்ட விட்டுருங்க, நாங்க பாத்துக்கிறோம்.
GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand.
மணப்பெண்ணின் பிரத்யேகமான திருமணம் விவாஹா சென்னை சில்க்ஸ்.